Aquaman, issue 5, Jeremy Adams writing with John Timms on the art. Matt?
Yeah.
I think I'm done.
I figured you might.
I think I'm done.
Look, this is straining even me, and I love Jeremy Adams. He's one of my favorite guys right now. This is straining my interest because I have no idea what the hell the blue's supposed to be. Like, I understand the red, I understand the green, I understand the gray, I understand the rot. The blue is just water? Like, that they kick people into and they're living in it in structures? And we get this very dark, especially for Jeremy Adams, at the beginning, this very dark scene where they feed this whole family to these frenzied sea creatures. And I was just like, what kind of Aquaman story is this? When you look in the context of Aquaman stories, where does this stand? What type of story are they trying to tell? Because this isn't kind of the mythical aspect that we've gotten in other sides, or the kind of what I'm looking for, the hesitant ruler Arthur. This is him going on this weird adventure. Like, it's almost like Arthur's D&D campaign, but it's not that compelling anymore.
I mean, I think the way I would talk about it is it feels like we've been jettisoned into an alternate reality of some kind. Now, whether or not this blue stuff ends up having like an importance and just kind of like Aquaman mythology going forward when we do get Atlantis back to the real world and everything else, maybe it will. Maybe he's got plans for that, and that's fine. But this story just feels like I believe the anime people of the world call it an Isekai. And
what does that mean exactly?
I believe, Matt, that is when a story is about a character who is taken away from their world and put in like a new one that they don't understand. Right? Okay. Usually a magical...
Stranger in a strange land.
Well, yeah, but more like a super... Like, not necessarily supernatural, but like
mystical.
Because you could do a Stranger in a Strange Land story about like a samurai washing up on the shore of like, you know, France or something. That wouldn't be an Isekai. Yes. An Isekai, I believe, again, not an expert in this, but I believe this is when a character is teleported in some way to another dimension or world where there's like it's either a fantasy world, maybe it's a sci-fi world, whatever it is, but it's not their world, and they have to learn about it and like rise up and like end up being like the chosen one that will save it. That's what this story kind of feels like.
Right. Okay. So in more Western terms, that's kind of like John Carter, like not just the movie, but the Edgar Rice Burroughs original story.
Yeah. John Carter.
John Carter, or which then also informed Adam Strange being transported to Ran and then becoming their ultimate champion. So yeah, except those stories are fun. This is like a chore. Well, and now we get Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues.
Oh yeah, I was rolling my eyes at the Nemo stuff, but yeah, no.
What are we doing?
I think the thing for me is that it's not even just is it fun or not, because I don't think it's very fun, but it's the fact that like if you're going to like start a story with saying this is an Isekai style story, that's fine. That's what it is. Maybe it's a little trait, whatever. But if you've got ideas for it, you've got it to work. That's fine. But I think like in the same way that I didn't like when Batman started just hopping around the multiverse randomly. Instead of like, you know, like doing some interesting stuff with its actual supporting cast. And that's the other thing. That's the thing that really bothers me here is that Aquaman has lost all of his supporting cast and he's with all these other characters until he eventually gets them back. And I'm just not that interested in like this Merlin type character that's with him, or Vivian or whatever her name is. I'm just not that interested in these other things. And yes, there's a tease at the end, but Dagon like having Mira tied up or something. And it's like, oh, we're going to see what's happened to Mira soon. Okay, fine. But the abruptness of like how we get into this story and then everything about like just Arthur having to learn all the rules of this world is just, I don't know. Like I'm more interested in like a compelling story either about Atlantis or about like, you know, like it's an underwater city. Goddamn it, I loved that stuff in the Rebirth run when it became about him. Yeah, him becoming like a vigilante in Atlantis was a really cool, interesting idea, and like until he could like build up and regain like, you know, power and control again. that was really cool. And just anything that develops like maybe more of a supporting cast that we can do interesting stories with would be cool. And obviously, you want to do some big apocalyptic aquatic threat and like have Aquaman be at the center of it. That's cool too. Whatever. And there's lots of other things that I wouldn't even think of that I'm sure I could get into and enjoy. I love when Aquaman does monster stories and stuff like that. That stuff tends to work for me. This just feels like the fact that it's water based, like obviously, yeah, there's a lot of fish looking things and whatnot, but the fact that it's water based doesn't even feel like important. This could be any story where someone's teleported to another world and they have to just sort of like learn like who's in charge and go and fight the evil bad guy at the end to like save his people, or like I just don't like it very much.
We got a cool king shark looking dude with the hammerhead named Titanus. You know, like that's more Aquaman type stuff that I like. But then when the mercenaries came back, and I should be loving that concept. Mermaid mercenaries, called mercenaries. That's great. And I was just like, ugh, again. So yeah, man, I might have to hop off too. Once Captain Nemo showed up, which again, this is a literary figure. So like, what exactly is the blue? Is it this like encompassing that even touches fictional worlds? Right? Because then there's a whole lot of aspects there. Is that how Arthur ended up there going through the Omega Gate?
I don't necessarily think it's doing that. I think this is more a case of they're making Nemo, like they're taking a literary character and making him something that exists in the DC universe, or at least in whatever dimension he came from inside the multiverse of the DC universe.
Because League of Extraordinary Gentlemen wasn't Vertigo, right? That was its own. That was a whole different company.
Well, I think Vertigo might have put out like trades of it. I don't know if they originally published it though.
Because I mean there is precedent for DC having Captain Nemo show up in things.
Yeah, to me this is like to me this is like putting Thor in your world. It's like, oh, like he's not a Marvel or DC creation. They're just taking this god character and putting him in.
Yeah, but that's different than a literary character, because I mean there's mythologies that are around Thor where you can bend him over. It's like putting any of the Greek gods, right?
How's that different from a literary character though?
So because there are different versions of Thor that show up in the different, same with the Greek gods, right? Like there's a canon in and of themselves, right? The only canon that we have of Captain Nemo is in the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You know what I mean? So for me, I can buy the concept of Thor showing up. It's a little bit different because, like, I guess Dracula's a figure, and we don't get mad about Dracula, I guess.
Yeah, Dracula's just
shows up in a bunch of different things.
Dracula's this thing that it shows up, and everything can do is their own version of Dracula, and no one really questions it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, whatever.
Yeah, I guess when I think about it like that too, because I think that Dracula, though, as a concept, supersedes anything with Captain Nemo, right? Most people's introduction with Captain Nemo is the Kirk Douglas version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, right? So I never would put him up on that level of there. But I guess that's fair. If you're throwing Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein and all these other characters, why not somebody like Captain Nemo or, even Tarzan for that matter, right? But yeah, I don't know. He showed up and I was kind of like, what am I supposed to be? What story am I supposed to be following with Arthur? Because I still get the vibe that Vivian and Arion aren't these good figures that are, we should be trusting. Like there's still a vibe with them that I feel like they're using Arthur for their own gains. Yeah, I mean, and then I even felt like, are we going to get Dagon? Are we going to get like, oh, it's not as bad, right? But then we get this issue in his what were they called? The judiciary or whatever they were, the magistrates. We get that, and then we see that he's done something to Mira. So no, like so Dagon is a completely bad figure that needs to be overthrown. So I mean, it's just weird.
I think for me, it just boils down to fundamentally, regardless of the coat of paint that's on this, where we're doing, it's in the blue, which is going to be Aquaman related, and we've got Aquaman in here. It's just a fantasy story, and I don't like fantasy that much. Yeah. It's such a traditional fantasy. There's a power in control of the land, and you have to rise up and take out the evil king or whatever. like, and we're having to learn how all this society works with all the different asset like factors of it. I just don't enjoy any of it, and I've given it 5 issues now, and it is like I've gotten more frustrated with each passing issue. So I'm done. Like I have nothing else to say about what actually happens in this issue. I just don't care.
Yeah, just outside of it seems like he's disfigured Mara because we can't see her face. And he talks about when Arthur sees what you've done. I'm just like, okay. But yeah, I've kind of lost my steam too. And that's why I was saying like, oh, it's gonna be fun to talk about because I figured you were gonna hate this issue because it really does lean into that fantasy aspect. But it's not even in a way where I feel like I want to keep reading. As I got to the end of this issue, and I was like, I don't care anymore. And so if you were still reading, I was going to see where you were at, and I feel like we lined up weirdly, you know.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Dark Knights of Steel for I mean, but that's at least a little bit different in that it's supposed to be like reimagining everything as a fantasy medieval type world, whereas this is just we're just doing this plot in Aquaman, which I find like just so uncompelling. No. I mean, this is the thing. See, the weird thing is that if like they'd like told me explicitly what this like run was going to be, if Adams, and maybe there was interviews and stuff that I could have saw if I went and looked for them, but if they'd specifically said, "Oh, this is what this book's going to be. It's going to be about him going to another dimension, and there's going to be a king like to take out and whatnot," I'd be like, "Oh, I won't even bother then." Like I would have known then. But this has just went further and further down this rabbit hole. And the fact that we got the solicit for issue 9 or whatever it was today.
Whatever it was, yeah.
And it was like still talking about Dagon. I'm like, you know what? I was pretty sure I was out when I read this, but when I read that solicit earlier, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely done. I'm not reading another 4 issues of this. So all right. I mean, the art's fine. I have no problem with the art.
Yeah, the art's cool. I still like the new trident. I think it's pretty cool. It's got the big, can turn into like a sword thing too. Also, that weird like prophecy thing at the beginning that there's no context for. That was thrown in there weirdly. So just making some weird.
I feel like the name at the bottom was supposed to be like some really old school version of Arthur because it was like Arthur or something like that.
There's that, but there's also it looks like Arion, right? Ari. So and then that's the King of Atlantis and all this other stuff. So, yeah, it's a bummer. I hate when this happens to Aquaman. It seems to happen to Aquaman a lot more than other characters. Yeah,
I guess they figure, we need to do something different with Aquaman, and I'm not against them doing something different, but the thing they picked in this case is so unappealing to me that like okay, best of luck. But I ain't looking at it anymore.
So, what did you call that thing from anime? Or what is it called?
An isekai.
Isekai. Okay, I was spelling it wrong. I thought you were putting the "an" in there, but that's the part of the speech "and." But yeah, so now I become obsessed with if things are isekai or not. It's like Wizard of Oz.
That's an isekai, yes.
I think that's isekai.
That's absolutely isekai.
Yeah. So now my brain's going, and I love to put things in compartments.
I only know that word because of podcasts and then referring to things. Is this an isekai or not? And I'm like, okay, I now know what it means. I can't unhear it. So yes.
Well, because that was my next question: is someone that doesn't enjoy anime like yourself, how would you know this term? And now I just was answered.
Yes, that's how I know. Like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 3, that's technically an isekai.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, God, I'm gonna keep doing this now.
We've learned something today. Apparently it happens a lot in anime though, which is why they have a specific like this is an entire subgenre of anime is the isekai.
Yeah.
So
I get it. It's fun to have that type of stuff. But yeah, once I started, I was like, oh, John Carter of Mars, Adam Strange. Oh man, Wizard of Oz is like that too. And now I'm going to go through it. Now I'm going to play my own version of Is It Isekai?
All right, Matt, what are you rating Aquaman?
Oh man, the art wasn't terrible. I'll give it a 4.5. I know that's low even for me, but it was just a chore to read.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're actually good. Even I don't think that there's anything wrong with the art.
Yeah.
I hate what it is. I hate the story is. So I guess I'll be diplomatic and say a 4. But
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just done.